So everybody got the first three toxicities, okay? These three toxicities are tangible. They're measurable. And you can address these, even though the first and second ones, the conventional guys may not believe in them, we can substantiate and we can measure it, and it's quantitatively and qualitatively established. The next four are somewhat esoteric. Okay, you kind of get into now a little bit of a different realm. So the fourth one is energetics. And since we're going to be talking more about the energetic aspect, I'm going to not talk about that right now. We'll come into that in a second. So I'm going to skip number 4 and go into 5, 6, and 7. 5 is emotional psychological. This one, in my opinion, of all 7, is very, very close in competition with number 7 as being the most important. That emotional and psychological one, I have found to be the definitive, perfect, thank you. I have found to be the definitive difference between success and failure in treating cancer. And when I'm talking about treating cancer, I'm not talking about stage 1 skin cancer. I'm talking about stage 4 breast cancer or pancreatic cancer, or something that's spread throughout the body. In those, I'll have patients, we've got patients that we've treated that with only stage 3 B cancer. And they didn't have multi-organ system failure. They were still fine, but they ended up succumbing to the cancer. And I've got other patients that were stage 4 cancer that had already gone through chemo, that had already gone through radiation, that had already been given 6 months to live, where the cancer was already spread from the breast to the lungs, to the liver, to the spleen, to the brain, to the spine. And now, 4, 5, 6 years later, PET scans show no more cancer in the breast, no more in the spine, no more in the scalp, no more in the liver, no more in the spleen, no more in the lungs. So why did that one person get better, whereas the other person didn't? Because they all went through the same treatment. Why is it that some of our patients have gone through treatment, we've been able to measure their immune system, and CAT scans and everything shows that the cancer is no longer there, or it's getting smaller, and their appetite's coming back, and their endurance is coming back, and they're feeling good, and this and that, and everything's great. And then they die 6 weeks later from a heart attack. Or they die 8 weeks later in a car accident. Or they throw a pulmonary emboli in 9 weeks and they die. Yet they were getting better. Or some patients that were getting better, but they died exactly when their oncologist said. Why is that? Well, I believe it's because of some kind of an emotional psychological component. And anybody that disagrees with me, very simply, I can tell you that you haven't treated enough cancer patients to see that. Because every single cancer patient I've ever treated has some deep-seated emotional psychological issue, some kind of a trauma that you would never suspect. But every single one of them has. And I can talk to you about, and if I can talk to you more about that afterwards, but unless that person is able to address it, face it, and get rid of it, it will come back and it will take them. So that emotional psychological component is to me, it's one of the top 2. And I'll tell you the other one is number 7, which I'll get to in a second. In fact, this emotional psychological component was so much, played such a role, it was so much of an issue from what I've seen that I started really concentrating on this component about 5 or 6 years ago. And it took me a couple of years to realize that, wait a second, this emotional psychological component actually is not just important in cancer. Guess what it's important in? All chronic disease. Okay? Now, obviously, I'm not as sharp as you are because you just said everything. It took me a couple more years to come to that conclusion. But it really is everything in life. It defines the success in finances, in your social life, your family life, your spiritual life, in business, in every single thing. It just so happens that cancer is the ultimate business success or failure. That's the only difference. And we actually evolved it now, our program, into, we actually have a seminar called Build a Successful Life Seminar that we just had about, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we marketed it to the Charlotte area. And because we're so good at marketing, we got 2 people from Charlotte. But we had people from Tokyo, we had people from California, we had people from Oregon, from Washington State, from Boston, from Maryland. We had inquiries from Australia, from Georgia. We had people from everywhere, but we didn't market anywhere else. We just marketed to Charlotte, and we had 2 people show up. And one was a patient of mine. So, and we actually had, it was a fantastic course. It was better than I expected. We had, we really, really had a great time. And We had actually one gentleman, I'll just do a little plug, we had one gentleman that actually has spent up to $25,000 to go to a seminar, and he said that this seminar blew any seminar he'd ever had. That was the guy from Tokyo. So anyway, the point being that what I addressed in that seminar was 2.5 days of actually dealing with how to become successful in any area of life. And you know, sometimes I know that somebody would look at me and say, well, you're a doctor, what does that give you the ability, or what qualifications does that give you to give me a lecture upon how to be successful in life?